How do you counter all of the attackers in Rainbow Six Siege? Or how do you counter that one specific attacker that has really been bugging you? Blackbeard mains, I see you. The simple answer, my friends, is to pick Doc and stim yourself to max HP and fight them all at once. If you tried that and it didn't work for you, I'm going to be giving you one trick to counter every single attacker in Rainbow Six Siege. So whether you want to learn on how to slam every single attacker in Siege and make them throw their keyboards across the room, or simply just learn that one that has really been annoying you, well, today's video will cover everything you need to know. If this video does help you out or you find it useful, be sure to drop a like on the video. Now let's dive into these tricks. So first of all, if you are looking to counter Ace, one of the best ways to do this is when he goes down and places his Aqua Selma Breacher, is to combine it with a little bit of an aggressive peek. What you can do is when they detonate and go off, you can be right up by that reinforced wall because you are only going to be taking around about 8 HP of damage per one, and then you can simply peek over it when it does detonate and you will be able to get a little bit of a cheeky angle and a cheeky kill onto that Ace player. One of the best ways to counter Amaru is through traps. Amaru, when rappelling through the window, will actually die to a trap. This is going to work with Capcan traps, frost mats, any sort of trap as well. And as well, if you place a Goyo shield in that window, when she collides with it, it's going to set off the fire as well. If you don't happen to have any trap operators around, the best way is to listen out for those sound cues. What you will be able to see is the barricade will shake a slight bit when the grapple hook does lock onto it. You will hear the sound cue of the grapple coming forward, and then obviously she will enter that barricade. There are a few sound cues that you can use early on. To counter Ashe, again, traps are another fantastic way to counter an Ashe main coming through. The Capcan traps really are going to slow them down. But you could just type in chat, tell them that they're an Ashe Jaeger main and that they need to leave the game. And realistically, you'll probably get a pretty strong result from that too. The best advice for Blitz is to keep yourself some distance from him. You always want to have distance from that Blitz player. When you end up giving them the close range, you won't be able to take your time with the shots on the shoulder peaks and as well on their feet. Use a rule to yourself that you've got to keep a certain distance apart from that Blitz main at all times. Next up for Book, a great trick to counter Book is to combine it with a roamer whose job is to purely deny that map control and time. Oftentimes a Book will go for that vertical play, and when he does go for that vertical play, he's going to need secure map control with the flanks covered. Your job as a roamer is to deny that map control initially and see how much time you can waste by holding it for as long as you can. If you hold it for a long period of time, what you'll be able to do is slow it down and how quick they're actually able to initiate the vertical play after you have left, or completely deny it. Next up, to counter those filthy Blackbeard mains is to peek when he is only exposing his body. On paper, you are not going to win against a guy rappelling on a window with a rifle who has also got 2 glass shields. Therefore, what I would recommend you to do instead is only peek when he's going to be exposing his body, as most good Blackbeard players who know what they're doing are going to be peeking with that shield because it is going to cover their face, only the shield. Therefore, if they decide to rappel in or you can get a run out from the side, go for that option. If you do want to learn a deeper understanding of the game with it being personalized to you, and as well support me at the same time, well, I do have a Patreon page, where in fact the patrons who support me monthly will gain access to 5-minute weekly videos that do come out specifically targeted at their needs, with a short video dedicated to the patrons helping them to improve at the game, as well as tied in with a great storyline as well, when that time when Barry the Blackbeard main came flying through that window, and then when this happened, the Blackbeard main was oh no. And when poor Barry had his mentality all out of shape, that was not his finest hour. If you want to learn about all of that, there will be a link down below where you can find Barry himself. One of the best ways to counter Capitao is through Wamai. Wamai's magnet system, his ability will directly counter any Capitao bolts, making it so that their utility gets wasted, but in fact used on them, and you can deal damage back to them. The next attacker to counter is Dokkaebi. A lot of players don't realize this, but you don't necessarily always have to answer your phone as Dokkaebi. While it will leak a bit of intel, you can use it to your advantage. A Dokkaebi player might think that you're going to be on your phone, disabling it so they get aggressive and try to rush you, but in fact you're holding the angle, waiting for them to come through. The best way to counter Finka is using her disadvantage against her, and that disadvantage is going to be the noise. There is a sheer amount of noise that goes off with her ability. Use it to your advantage and mask other objects. Next up for Fuse, the best plan to do is to keep moving at all times. You don't know when it's going to come through. If you stand still, you're going to find yourself getting blown up by one of the cluster charges. As well, be trying to predict those windows. Where is he going to come through next? Do you decide to pre-fire or do you decide to move in prediction? A great counter for Glaz is Warden. all you simply have to do is stand still with his ability on, and you will be able to see through that smoke. But as well, if you're not going to be playing Warden, I would highly recommend you to keep moving and get aggressive. Glaz does have a DMR at a long range. He is at a massive disadvantage. Get up close to him, get up personal, and be aggressive. Next up for Gridlock, well, Mai's ability does also counter Gridlock. It's going to trap them and move them to a different location. As well, if you are going to be facing against the Gridlock tracks, what I would recommend doing is shooting the first one out. If you manage to shoot out the initial first one, the rest aren't going to be able to spawn in. The best counters for Hibana are going to be Bandit and Cade. You can very easily Cade or Bandit trick them, and you will actually have extra time. Hibana's pellets do take a little longer to detonate and go off. Therefore, if you're late to Bandit tricking, you can very easily do it with extra time inbound. Next up for counter and Iana, the best way is going to be mute. If you want to counter Iana, what I would highly recommend doing is using your signal disruptor, jam the ability. As well, what you also need to be wary of is if you get baited out by that Iana, don't let another player come in for that refrag when you take out that Iana hologram. Don't let it distract you from your main mission. The best way to counter IQ is going to be pushing her when she is exposed. An IQ player will occasionally expose themselves when they go to peek to take out a gadget. If they do this and they are not careful about this, they will end up overextending themselves, allowing you to get an angle onto them, peek them, and kill them just from that. A great way to counter Jackal when you're going to be defending is a bit more of an unknown trick. You can use the tracks to your advantage. When Jackal goes ahead and starts pinging you or tracking you, it isn't the be-all and end-all. You can use this to your advantage. Use it to throw the enemy off, whether you decide to have a teammate there for the refrag or to bait them into some location. What you can also do yourself is use them to ping in one location, very swiftly move to another where you can directly cut them off if they decide to get aggressive and push onto that ping. A great way to counter Kali is going to be stimming yourself to max as a dock player so that you can take multiple hits from her. If you decide to heroically use all 3 of your stims on yourself, what you will be able to do is face that Kali with a bold stance. But seriously, if you want to counter Kali properly, you need to get aggressive. Remember that she does have a sniper. It is very hard for her to flick from one target to another in quick succession. Catch her on that reload as well. If you are looking to counter Lion, similarly to Thinker, what I would also recommend you to do is use the noise to your advantage. A lot of players, the reason why they find the Lion ability so annoying isn't because of the scan where it will ping your location, but actually the noise that it does emit. You might not notice it, but now that I've just said that to you, it might all of a sudden click on why you hate it so much. Use it to your advantage, whether you decide to get some shots off, whether you decide to go for an aggressive peek, whatever it is, use that extra noise that is going to be inbound for all of the attackers and the defenders to your own advantage. A fantastic and risk-free method to counter Maverick is going to be using a C4. When Maverick is going to be making a hole along the bottom of the reinforcement or even the top, essentially a position where he is going to be exposing his body, what you will be able to do is throw your C4. For the bottom reinforcement, the positioning doesn't exactly have to be perfect. Just make sure that you are hitting the top line, the bottom line of the little hole he's made. It doesn't even have to go through as well. If you can land it just on that little top line above it, you detonate it, the explosion will go through the hole because of the way the explosions work, and it will be able to take him out through it. The best way to counter a Montaigne is surrounding and pressuring. If you can grab another player so that you're not just on your own, you'll be able to counter Montaigne a lot more easily. Whether you decide to use a C4, get aggressive, knife or melee the bottom of the shield, this will work very well. The best way to counter Nomad's air jabs is to use them against her. The air jabs are supposedly meant to cover that flank. If you stand directly underneath them, you're not going to trigger them off, but you'll still be able to get a similar angle as to what you would have before. You won't be able to go through it, bearing in mind. But if a Nomad player was to come back and check the map control or the top flank, which is commonly done, you're there waiting for the prey. In order to counter knock, when you're going to be on the cameras, you will be able to see objects move, such as a vase broken on the floor, some magazines, whether it's paper. If a knock runs over it, knocks it over, it's still going to have that similar effect as if a player was to be there in real form. The best way to counter a sledge is to hide in the corner. If that sledge is coming around with his hammer and he is ready to hit you on the head with it, you need to get hiding. Hide in the corner and never look back, unless, oh wait. If you don't want to be getting hit on the head with a sledgehammer next time in the round, be sure to check that you are subscribed to the channel, because sometimes you may be unsubscribed when you think you actually are. Be sure to check it down below. It would mean the world. In order to counter a Thatcher as bandit, what you need to be doing is removing your shock wire once you see a blue light. If you see a blue light, you need to instantly remove your shock wire, because the EMP itself actually emits a blue light from it So when you know it's hit the ground and you know it's near the reinforcement, you know it is about to go off. Next up, in order to counter thermite tricking, what you need to be doing is listening out for that core sound. Thermite tricking is where the thermite fakes to places thermite charge on one wall, moves to the other, and so on and so forth. Listen out for that sound, which is going to be absolutely crucial. And in all situations when you are bandit tricking, be wary of a thermite trick coming in. If you get distracted, you'll be caught off guard very, very easily. In order to counter a twitch, you simply just shoot the drone. As basic as it might sound, the best tip that I can give you in order to counter a twitch is to shoot the drone out. Obviously, mute is a core counter for Twitch, but I would also recommend you to shoot the drone out, notify your teammates so that you can alert them for it. A massive weakness of the Twitch drone is that it is very difficult for it to get into the core places of the site in order to take out a mirror, apart from drone holes. So either you check it frequently or simply get a mute jammer or a Mozzie Pest there to cover your back. Next up, you need to know how to counter Ying. In order to counter a Ying player, their main job is to gain more map control, rotate you out of your position to gain a more advantageous position over you. Or they will commonly use it to rush in and think they can get a kill on you, but 9 times out of 10, you'll be able to avoid that flash, hold the angle, and then pick up the kill. But instead, the other best option is to rotate away, let them gain that map control slowly but surely. But then what I want you to do is put yourself in a more advantageous position. If their main goal is to get your position, you need to be one-upping them every single time. And finally, for Zofia. Zofia's concussions are no longer going to affect your mouse sensitivity. This was actually changed. Therefore, it is a lot easier now for you to hold the angle, wait for them to come through, get the kill if they decide to play aggressive. And that right there was one trick to counter every single attacker in Rainbow Six Siege. If the video did help you out, be sure to drop a like on it and subscribe for more tips and tricks just like this one. As well, if you have any questions about the video or other counters that you can use for the operators, be sure to drop them all in the Discord, and there will be a link down below where I am very, very happy to answer any questions that you might have. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.